The Atlanta Braves bullpen absolutely implodes in a 12-9 loss to the New York Yankees. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravetoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at Shortstop Ball. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And Jake, 12-9 loss by the Braves to the New York Yankees. And this one really hurts because Atlanta was doing a lot of great stuff early. 5 runs in the first 4 innings. They end up being up 7-2 in this game. And from that point on, they score 2 runs and they give up 10. And it's just Joey Wentz went 4 scoreless innings. And real quick, before we get in, I start asking you questions and get into this. This outing by Joey Wentz was the longest outing of his season by both innings, by pitch count. He hasn't gone over 50 innings or 50 pitches all year. He hasn't made it through 4 full innings all year. So you understand why they pulled him when they did. But every single reliever that comes out of the pen for Atlanta, whether it's Dylan Lee, Raisel Iglesias, Enwedil Santos, anybody, they just can't seem to keep the Yankees from scoring runs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem. Like you said, it's not just one reliever tonight. I mean, it was all of them, and it takes away what was another good performance from Joey Wentz, and he was likely going to be done anyway, but I do wonder if there wasn't like an hour half inning when the Braves were scoring all those runs, if maybe you sent him back out there. He had been throwing the ball that well. Yeah, it's just bad. Look, I posted this on social media right before we jumped on. If you're 2026 focused, I still think you feel pretty good about this game because I don't think Enwedil De Los Santos is part of the future. I think he has good stuff. I don't think he's part of the future. Montero's not part of the future. Iggy's not part of the future. I don't even know that Pierce Johnson is part of the future. I mean, of the guys that really blew this, the only one that I think is part of the future of this team is Dylan Lee. But it still just hurts. I would love to see, I know how you have the win probability chart, that goes up and you post it whenever a team has a big comeback. I'd love to see what that was for Braves fans' confidence, because I bet midway through this game, there are fans thinking, we're back in this. We're gonna buy at the deadline. We're going to be in the postseason hunt. And then just like that, after a loss like that, it's okay. Who are we selling? Who can we sell now? The one guy that was looking really good was Iglesias, and he gave up a grand slam in this game. So it's crazy riding the roller coaster of emotions for fans too, because halfway through this one, you're thinking, oh, are they actually going to go on this run? Is this team actually good again? Are they going to get into the postseason? And now it's just like, okay, burn it down, season over. Let's turn the page.
Yeah. The StatCast win probability chart can't measure the fans, but for the actual game, it capped out at 96.1% chance of Atlanta winning after Ozzie Albies had that 2 RBI single in the bottom of the 5th. And so you go from there to obviously losing the game is just the absolute worst. And to your point, it's not super concerning for the future. But if you're the type of Braves fan, and I think that I fell into this trap, if you're the type of Braves fan that saw the win yesterday and then saw how the first half of this game went, and you said, hey, some of your best offensive contributions have been Ozzie Albies, who has been dreadful, and we were openly questioning whether he'd be back next year. It was Michael Harris, who's been dreadful, and we were asking him to go down to Gwinnett. When you saw it was those guys that were carrying the offense, Ozzie had probably the best game of his season in the middle of the best series of his season tonight, going 2 for 4 with 5 RBI, but they blow it. And to your point, if you're future focused, hey, this got you closer to the number 1 overall pick. But I mean, you can look at that. And to your point, a lot of these relievers aren't going to be on the team next year, but seeing every single guy struggle like this makes me concerned that it's not just a talent issue. It's something bigger because they all couldn't seem to do it. Is it coaching? Is it game planning? what's going on? Am I just in my feelings too much about a really good offensive performance by the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to give some credit to the Yankees. They are a good offense, and have kind of been scuffling a little bit, I think. So they, they were due for a big come, and you kind of feel it coming. You could feel the momentum switch there, obviously, in the big inning that the Yankees had. I'd say the only thing managerial wise is that, okay, you go to Iñigo de los Santos in a 5-run game. I'm fine with that. That's fine. And, full disclosure, spending some time with the wife tonight. We were watching a show. I had the game on mute on another TV, watching it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw them go the break, and I didn't know who was up. I didn't know who was coming out. And then I saw Montero come out. And I said, okay, this feels like the game is in the balance. I'm going to go to one of my best relievers right here with the top of the order coming up. And when I saw Montero come out, I said, I don't feel great about that. And look, to be fair, none of the relievers were good. So we're good tonight. So maybe it didn't matter. But I just felt like the game's in the balance right here. I know it's only the 6th inning, and you still got to find 3 more innings to get through. But the game feels like it's in the balance, and you're going through the top of the order. I'd feel much better with Pierce Johnson or Dylan Lee in that spot, Rafael Montero, and you kind of figure it out from there. That's the only thing that I kind of question. Again, I don't think that's too brutal of a managerial mistake. And like I said, everybody was bad tonight, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered all that much. But that was the only thing there where I was like, ooh, as soon as I saw Montero come in, I said, I don't know if this is a choice that I would have made here.
Yeah, that was it's Pierce Johnson feels like the go-to there because, and kind of elaborating on your point there, if you can hold that 7-2 lead, you can throw Dane Dunning for 2 innings, right? You can, I thought we would see him after Wentz came out and you'd combine those two for a full length start, but you can do something like that where you go and you maybe get it out of a higher leverage situation later. Getting to the top up there, that absolutely had to be a better reliever than De Los Santos, than Montero and all of that. And that's kind of the big failure here. I do want to point out for Raisel Iglesias, the grand slam in the 9th. You talked about this yesterday. This is why you're CJ Nikowski's favorite analyst. You pointed this out, that the slider still wasn't that good last night. And the grand slam by Trent Grisham in the 9th, center cut slider. He leaves a fastball right there. And then he comes back to that same location hanging a slider. Is it like we've seen the Braves finally make the move of taking Marcell Ozuna out of the lineup and putting in the catchers on an everyday basis? Snitz said, I think it was either last night or today before the game, that he's going to keep playing them because they're both hitting. And we saw them do more of that tonight. Is this something where with Raisel Iglesias, like, have they been trying? I guess they've been trying to build his trade value up. Can you afford to let him still pitch the 9th inning if he's going to throw sliders and leave them there? Or does it not really matter because it's 2 weeks and he'll be gone in 10 days anyway?
Yeah, and who do you go to? I mean, Dylan Lee's the only other one. He gave up a home run tonight too, and I feel like hasn't been quite as locked down here lately. So, as we talked about earlier in the season, we were discussing replacing Iglesias. Who do you really go to? And some of your best relievers are in AAA right now, in Dylan Dodd and Daysville Hernandez, that I would have liked to see in this game. So, they're playing that kind of option roulette thing here, and got some of your best relievers down at AAA at the moment. So again, I just don't know who else you use. I almost wonder if Sean Murphy was overthinking it tonight, because Friday he threw the slider one time.
Yeah.
And tonight it was his most used pitch. And you almost wonder, okay, they're seeing the same guy back-to-back nights. Do we need to try to do something a little bit different? And you almost wonder if they just overthought it too much, because the slider has been what's killed him this year, especially on the home runs.
They're one of the worst pitchers in baseball.
And here you're spamming it to where it's his best pitch, and you're throwing it over and over, and it cost you the game because you leave one middle. I just don't understand it. The double he gives up to Goldschmidt, it's a changeup right down the middle, a right on right changeup, and then the home run he gives up, it's a right on left slider that's hung. You want the opposite of that. Usually you want the changeup to the lefty, and you want the slider to the running away from the righty. The other at bat in this that really frustrated me was the Giancarlo Stanton at bat. You walk Judge, absolutely. He should have been walking to first from the very moment he stepped out of the on deck circle. But then you walk Stanton, you get ahead of him, and you spam that slider, and none of them are close enough for Stanton to really even offer it, a guy that will chase. And then you load the base with one out. Luckily, you get the line drive out to Nacho there. You think they're going to get out of it, and then he leaves that slider middle. So it just wasn't a good night. But again, I just wondered maybe they were overthinking it a little bit. Using a guy on back-to-back nights, wanting to do a little bit something different, but you go back to the pitch that has been so bad for Iglesias this year, and it cost you.
Yeah, I've written about this over on the newsletter. The concept of decay when you face a reliever multiple times on multiple nights, or just face a pitcher back-to-back times, period. And the more you use a pitch, the more less effective it is the second and third time they see you, unless you do other stuff to try to buy it back a little bit. And I do think, to your point, a little bit of a maybe trying to be a little too fancy by Sean Murphy. You appreciate the idea. I do think also if you can execute it, which obviously has been the issue all year for Raisel Iglesias, if you can execute the slider, leave it down versus center cut, it might not be as big of a problem. So yeah, it feels like a little bit of maybe of a bad decision to call the pitch, a worse location of where you left it. And that was the death blow for the Braves there, because were it not for the grand slam, if you get out of that inning somehow without allowing a run, Atlanta scored a run in the ninth. Like, they would have walked it off. So a little bit of a different situation, although it's probably approached differently by New York in that situation. All right, let's get to the offense. I do want to talk about Ozzie Albies, about Michael Harris, about what these guys did. We'll do that next, right here on the Braves Postcast. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Because if you're already following the action, why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. If you're amazed at how good the starter did, but you have a bad feeling about the bullpen, guess what? You can place live action during the game to see if you're right or not. Or you can just hedge so that either you're in a good mood because we win or because you make a little bit of money back. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, so I guess the most frustrating thing about this is Atlanta's offense scores 9 runs and they lose. And Atlanta did just about everything you wanted to see, right? They get Michael Harris hits a home run. Ozzie hits his second 3-run homer of the series. Ozzie had 5 RBI with 2 outs. The Braves go 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position. You did so many good things. I think one of the big takeaways here so far is moving Ronald to the 3 spot in the order, followed by the 2 catchers, has absolutely been a positive change for the Braves offense. It feels like Ronald has so many more opportunities to get RBI, and the offense as a whole just seems to be able to do a little bit more with this new look lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 of your best hitters. I've been saying it. We both have been saying it for a while. Every night, one of your better hitters has just been stuck on the bench. And so you get one of those hitters in the lineup. It lengthens it a little bit, 1 through 5 in the order. You feel pretty good about now with Profar, Olsen, Acuna, Baldwin, and Murphy. And then you get Ozzie and Michael Harris going the way they were. Like I said, there's some real positives to take away from the night if you are 2026 focused. I mean, if you are still holding on for any hope for this season, this is a huge gut punch. But, what we're looking for in the second half and some of the storylines we talked about are, can Ozzie or Michael Harris figure it out? Can they get some good momentum going into the end of the season and hopefully into next year? And that's, at least so far early on, things are looking pretty good for both of those guys. So, but yeah, I mean, the lineup, putting both the catchers in there, it's definitely had lengthened it a little bit and gives you some more hope. So I feel pretty good about the offense. Like I said, even in that Cardinals series before the break, I mean, we're now looking at, 5-6 game stretch here with this offense with both those catchers in there has looked really good. Like I said last night, though, it's probably a month too late.
Yeah. This is something you had to do, in early June to try to generate offense, not necessarily now. I do want to ask, somebody brought it up in the chat here. I apologize for not seeing who it was. I think it was maybe Wesley there. Which loss hurts more, this one or the Diamondbacks loss where the bullpen gave up a bunch of runs late? Because My thought process is this one felt like you wasted a better offensive effort, but the stakes in the 2025 season right now are so much lower than they were when you collapse against the Diamondbacks. So I'm not sure which one is worse, but this one might be worse simply because you thought you had this one in the bag.
I'm going to be honest, the game 3 in Colorado where the offense was just putrid and they lost that game, that one hurts even more than anything because you're facing one of the worst teams. You get a great pitching performance and you just can't score anything. Like that hurts me more than anything. But to answer your question, I mean, it's the Diamondbacks loss because you still had hope at this point. And while I've tried to remain optimistic and think that this team has some sort of hope in the second half, just because I don't want to come on in here every night and just talk about how this team's completely done for the season. This honestly did not faze me all that much tonight. And you could almost just see it coming when they had the big inning and made it 7-6. Now I will say they fought back. So early when the Yankees scored 2 runs, Ozzie gets the 2-run hit. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this offense responds right back. And then they have the big inning and they make it 7-6. And then Matt Olson gets a big 2-out hit and gets an added run there. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe this is a little bit different here. And this offense is actually going to, do enough. But just wasn't the case for the pitching. And then I think the brutal moment for me tonight, and I don't want to take anything from Michael Harris, who had a good evening, and the home run's impressive, but even more impressive, the walk that he had and the 1-2 curveball in the dirt. I saw the curveball coming. I said, there's a swing over the top of it, strike 3. And he took it. And then he later, was able to earn the walk. So I don't want to discredit anything Michael Harris did tonight. It was a great night for him. But I think what sealed it for me was the bases loaded 1-out situation and they don't score. Yeah. And you get a big hit there or push another runner across. It might not matter if they still hit a grand slam in the end, but I just kind of felt like it for me when they didn't score anything there with the momentum that the Yankees had going, that just kind of added to it. And I said, okay, they're going to lose at that point. So I kind of already had conceded defeat at that moment.
Yeah. The bases loaded discrepancy there, I think, was big because the Yankees got bases loaded against, I think it was Montero and De Los Santos. Yeah. And they got everybody in. Atlanta had them and they got one. And I think that's kind of one of those, okay, yeah, this is not going to happen tonight. I will say, thinking back about it, the chat kind of agrees it's all the Diamondbacks' loss. I do think that one was a lot more abrupt. You did see Atlanta's bullpen here giving up runs in like every single inning. That Diamondbacks one was just, you went from being dominant to collapsing in the span of like 6 batters. So I think that's a little bit different there. But okay, so game 3 now, this is Grant Holmes versus Marcus Stroman. And the thing that's wild is now both teams have used their bullpens a ton in this series. You have to think that Atlanta, with Grant Holmes on the mound, has the advantage over a sinker baller who is dealing with reduced velocity in Marcus Stroman and a 6.66 ERA, which is just probably a sign that Atlanta really should win this game on a Sunday. But how are you, like, after tonight's loss, it's hard to go into Sunday and feel optimistic about the finale, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's another game where I think you're really going to have to count on your offense. While I like Grant Holmes and he goes out there and he gives you a chance to win just about every night, one thing he does struggle with at times is walks, and the Yankees lead the league in walks. So, for a guy that you're hoping is going to give you at least 6 innings and kind of help out that bullpen, I feel like it's going to be hard to do for Grant Holmes against that Yankees lineup that doesn't chase a ton and takes his walks, and a guy in Grant Holmes that struggles with walks and every now and then home runs. So I think it's going to be another shootout like this too. And while I feel a little bit better about the Braves' chances in those games right now, I don't feel great about their bullpen at the moment after tonight. And I don't know who they're going to pitch tomorrow. They may have to make some moves. We may see a lot of Dane Dunning tomorrow. I'm just not really sure what to expect in this finale, but I have a good feeling there's probably going to be a lot of runs scored.
Yeah, if Grant Holmes and Dane Dunning could combine for 9 innings, that would be really useful for the bullpen to save everybody, because everybody else down there is pitched.
Even in a loss.
Even in a loss, yeah. Like if you do 6-3 and you each give up 3 runs, you know what? Week 1, we might still win if it's 9 runs like tonight. But 2, we just need that pitching to take a break there. Again, 12-9 victory for the Yankees over the Atlanta Braves. Series is tied at 1. This series finale is at 1:35 on Sunday. Heads up, I will not be around for a postcast on Sunday. I have a family commitment. So if Grant Holmes throws a shutout, I'll text Jake and say, hey, buddy, go solo without me for a postcast. But outside of that, do us a favor. Make sure you're subscribed to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Jake posted a bonus episode today all about that awesome catch from Ronald last night. Locked On Sports Atlanta is getting into the NFL season upcoming, all the stuff the Hawks doing in the NBA. So go subscribe to both of those. Turn on notifications so you know when we go live to talk about your favorite Atlanta sports teams. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.